When you think American sports car, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it just big, loud V8s, maybe some tire smoke? Well, the real story, it's way more complicated than that, and honestly, a lot more interesting. So let's dive in. So that's really the big question we're tackling here. What makes a sports car American? Because, over the last 70 years or so, that question has been answered in some pretty wild, totally different ways. It's created this incredible story of rivalries, engineering showdowns, and, yeah, a whole lot of horsepower. All right, so to really get this, we gotta go way back. We're talking right after World War II, a time when a brand new car came along that didn't just try to fit into a category. No, it basically invented one. It was all about this vision of freedom, the open road, made for a whole new generation of American drivers. And here she is, the 1953 Chevrolet Corvette. I mean, just look at this thing from the original brochure. From day one, they were marketing this as a total game changer. It had this sleek fiberglass body. There was literally nothing else like it on American roads. This was it. This was the first shot in what would become a revolution. And if you look at the words they used, it's super revealing. The brochure says it's for sports-loving, fun-loving people. See that? They weren't selling it on 0 to 60 times. The whole idea, the philosophy, was about style, having a good time, and just that pure, simple joy of being out on the road. And that whole fun-loving vibe, it carried right on into the inside. The brochure talks about a spacious, comfortable cockpit. It had a heater, a radio, standard. This thing wasn't some bare-bones race car. It was built to be easy to live with, a car you could actually get in and just cruise. Okay, now here's the number that's going to blow your mind and put all this into perspective. Ready? 150 horsepower. That's it. From its Blue Flame inline-six engine. I mean, my gosh, that's less power than a lot of family cars today. It just goes to show you the American sports car didn't start with this earth-shattering roar. It started with a cool, confident, and very stylish statement. But you know how these things go. That quiet, stylish statement, it wasn't going to be the only voice in the room for long. So let's fast forward a few decades, because a totally different, honestly, an almost violently opposite philosophy was about to crash the party. So by the time we get to the early 90s, the Corvette had really grown up. It was a legitimately fast car. But a team over at Dodge looked at the scene and thought, you know what? Something's missing. They felt like the American sports car had gotten a little too tame. They wanted to bring back that raw, untamed edge. They wanted to build a monster for the modern age. And that was their whole mission. The Dodge Viper wasn't about evolving what was already there. No, this was a deliberate throwback. The whole point was to create a modern-day Shelby Cobra, a car where the absolute visceral thrill of driving was the only thing that mattered. Comfort? Forget it. Convenience? Not even on the list. I mean, when you put them side by side, the difference is just staggering. The original Vet had that comfortable cockpit, right? The first Viper, no air conditioning, no airbags. Get this, it didn't even have outside door handles. You had to reach in and unzip a plastic window to open the door from the outside. It was the complete and total opposite of that fun-loving cruiser from the 50s. And all that raw attitude was backed up by a truly massive engine, an 8-liter V10, pumping out 400 horsepower. This wasn't just raising the bar. This was taking the bar, smashing it into a million pieces, and screaming that from now on, raw, unapologetic power was the new name of the game. The Viper showing up was a massive wake-up call, especially for Corvette. It kicked off this incredibly fierce rivalry between the two, and that competition, it pushed both of them to levels of performance that were just unimaginable before. It totally redefined what an American car could do. So Corvette had to respond, right? And they did. The car, which was already constantly evolving, had to kick its own transformation into high gear. It went from that stylish C1 to the legendary C2 Stingray, and that evolution just kept going. By the time you get to the C7 generation, you have models like the Z06 just pushing that classic front-engine design to its absolute limit with 650 horsepower. Just look at this climb. It's insane. You start at 150 horsepower. Then the Viper comes in at 400. Then the Corvette Z06 hits 650. And then Ford decides it's time to get serious and jumps into the ring with the Mustang. The numbers just went berserk. It was a genuine horsepower war. So as this horsepower race is just exploding, a third philosophy starts to take shape. While the Corvette and Viper were going head-to-head, another American icon, the Ford Mustang, was doing its own thing. It was evolving from what we called a pony car into a real supercar contender. But it was doing it by trying to perfect that classic American recipe. And this is the result. The 2020 Shelby GT500. We're talking a mind-blowing 760 horsepower. This car was the absolute peak, the ultimate expression of what you could do with the classic setup. Engine in the front, power to the back. It was the final word, really, for the traditionalists. Yeah, and this quote from Car and Driver just nails Ford's whole attitude. They said the engineers at Ford Performance felt they had unfinished business with that front engine design. While everyone else was maybe looking at new ideas, Ford was like, nope, we're doubling down. We believe there's still more performance to get out of this classic layout. But here's the thing. Both the GT500 and the top dog Corvettes were hitting a wall. A literal, physical wall. When you have that much power and all that engine weight sitting over the front wheels, just getting the power to the ground without spinning the tires becomes a huge, huge problem. At the end of the day, it was simple physics that was going to force a big change. So, faced with that physics problem, with the limits of the old design, Chevrolet made a choice. And it was probably the most radical, most shocking decision in the Corvette's entire history. A move that would completely redefine the American sports car. All over again. They did it. For the C8, the 8th generation, Chevy did what people had only dreamed about for decades. They took the engine out of the front and they put it in the middle, right behind the driver. Just like that, after 67 years, the American sports car as we knew it was gone. And this really shows you the fork in the road that happened in 2020. On one side, you have Ford with the GT500, saying, let's perfect the formula we know and love. On the other side, you have Chevy with the C8 Corvette, saying, let's tear up the rulebook and redefine the legend. It turned the Corvette into a true mid-engine supercar, ready to take on the world. Two amazing American cars, two totally different philosophies. So let's go back to our original question. What makes a sports car American? Well, as we've seen, there is no single easy answer, is there? It can be the stylish, fun-loving cruiser. It can be a brutal, raw track weapon. It can be a high-tech masterpiece of the old formula. Or it can be a mid-engine supercar that shatters all expectations. The definition just keeps evolving. And that, of course, brings us to right now and to the future. With electric power coming on strong, promising instant torque and just insane acceleration, the whole idea of the American sports car is about to get shaken up all over again. So what's next? What new ideas, what new philosophies are going to define this next chapter? Well, that's a story that's only just beginning.